Thanks for willing to us. Ready to get started?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay. So first off, I want to ask you, what was your first ever voiceover role you did?
My first ever voiceover role is Clara from Honkai Star Rail.
Nice. Star Rail.
So,
Nice.
yeah.
Yeah. And on your one thing I was curious about, on your website and your Twitter, you say you also mentioned that you're also a casting director. I was wondering what made you go into those fields, or were you just putting your hands in as many baskets as possible, hoping something would stick?
For me, I really like giving opportunities to people. And I like, the puzzle, the challenge of finding the right voice for the right character. And so I started doing casting because I wanted to, one, give opportunities to people since, I've been lucky enough that people have granted me opportunities that have helped me in my career. And I just genuinely enjoy listening to every like people's interpretations of characters because everyone has something different to give and they'll interpret, audition sides differently. So I learn a lot by seeing what people come up with on the fly and, we're not on the fly. But just hearing what people come up with uh, when they're given material and I I learn a lot from them and use that for my own auditions.
Nice. And you also on your Twitter, you also mentioned you're also a writer. I was curious, what things do you write? Do you like novels, screenplays, or comics? What?
I write novels. I write novels in my spare time. I've always really enjoyed writing ever since I was a kid, and so yeah, I do a lot of creative writing whenever I'm not doing other things.
Have you actually published any of these works yet, or no?
No, I haven't. I know like actually publishing stuff, it takes a lot of work and like authors, they have like deadlines and like, finding editors and publishing houses, like that's a whole other endeavor in itself. And I definitely don't have the time for it. And I don't think like for me because like writing is like a very special hobby of mine. It's something I don't necessarily want to monetize. So I just have a lot of ideas in my head and I just, I write them down and it also just helps me when I'm like because I'm also like very emotional. So whenever I'm just like feeling a lot of emotions, it helps me to just like, write them out in fictional scenarios and like help me process things that way.
Nice. And so you mentioned your first role you got was in Honkai. So I was curious, what was your overall audition story for Honkai? Because I've heard a lot of stories from people that have auditioned for Hoyoverse games and everything's under code names, you know what you're auditioning for. I was curious if that was a similar story for you with work on Honkai.
Yeah. It didn't have a name or anything like a project name when I auditioned for it. I believe I was in like the earliest batch of auditions. And the casting director at the time found my email. I don't know how she found it, but she did, and sent me auditions for the game, which I didn't know was Honkai Star Rail at the time because this was 2 years before the game even came out. So it was still under development. And yeah, I just looked through the audition sides, chose the characters that I thought would fit best, and then, did my interpretation of them and sent them in, not thinking anything of it because at that time I was very early in my voice acting journey. Like I had only taken classes for 6 months at the time. And so I wasn't expecting anything. For me, it was just like, oh, this is just even a really great opportunity to read for it and just be heard. I wasn't expecting to actually be booked. And so when I got the email a month later, it was shocking. And I couldn't believe it and I cried because it was just so unexpected.
Nice. And did you take to dubbing easily, or did it kind of take you a while to get used to like the timing of it?
I've taken classes for dubbing, both for like anime dubbing and live action dubbing, and it is a lot of like rhythm, and the more that you do it, the better that you get. I would say for me, it's like because I know, like, at least for, like Star Rail, it's originally in Chinese, so whenever I had to do like dubbing, I understand Chinese, so it was easy for me to just like, you know, have the Chinese dialogue in my head and not really have to think about the script because I could already just translate it in my head, and then just focus on the picture and matching flaps there. And then similarly with live action dubbing, I've done several Korean shows, and so I know Korean. Usually with those ones, it's like kind of like karaoke style where you see the words like on the screen and you kind of have to chase
Mm.
um the words. So it's uh not you don't have to like match lip flaps a lot of the times. Um and then for like anime, like I know some Japanese, but oftentimes the adaptation is very different from the actual like translated lines because you're not translating one to one. You have to uh, adapt the material so that it can fit with like a Western context, or like then it'll fit the mouth flaps a little more easily because, the same word in Japanese is going to have probably different syllables than the same word in English. So it has to be adjusted that way. And so, yeah, a lot of times it's just like practice. The more, and it's like with anything, the more that you practice, the better that you get.
Nice. And are you the type of actor when you're working on either Korean shows or the handful of times you've gotten to work on, like when you were working on Solo Leveling, are you the type that like to do research and read the original source, or do you like to go blind into the booth?
For the Korean shows that I've done, I didn't the source material was not out yet because usually, at least for the ones that I've worked on, they release the English dub and the original show at the same time. Um, so I just had to go in and then whatever was on the screen was what I got. And then oftentimes it's like they don't even tell you what the show is sometimes. Um, and then for Solo Leveling, because that one aired 2 weeks beforehand in Japanese, I was watching it and keeping up with it. And I do prefer to at least just know the source material. I know some people they don't want to be they don't want the source material to affect like their interpretation. But for me, I like seeing it just so I can contextualize my own interpretation and see like, okay, what do I like from this that I'm gonna, infuse into what I decide to bring into the booth.
Right. And what was your initial impressions of, I'm probably gonna butcher this name, Jung Young Do in a Pyramid Game, which I actually first saw that on your website, and I thought it was interesting. And I ended up watching like the entire show in one go. I actually ended up really enjoying it, especially the dub as well. The dub for it is really
Heck
good.
yeah. I still need to watch the full thing that's like on my watch list. But yeah, I mean, she, kind of like most of the girls in that show, they're really just trying to protect themselves because when you're in high school, like social hierarchy is everything.
Yeah.
And this is like, turned up to the max. And like Korean schools in general are already very competitive, like even without the game aspect that they had in the drama.
Mhm.
Um, they're already very, very competitive and people are, very studious and going to like hagwons or like, after schools until very late at night and just like studying all the time. So like I understood her motivations of like she's just trying to be on the right side and not ruffle any feathers. And she's also kind of like bold and brash and she's kind of not afraid to try and get what she wants. Um, and so she's definitely like not necessarily manipulative, but like at the end of the day, she's trying to save her own skin and she'll do what it takes to save herself most of all, which you know what? I totally respect.
And for you, what are some unique challenges of dubbing live action as opposed to like anime or video games or whatnot?
Um, I think with live action, it really is a lot more grounded than anime or video games. Well, depending on the video game. Video games can be very grounded. Just like Western style, most of the times those are more cinematic and grounded, versus JRPGs that kind of fall more in line with anime and are a little more heightened, more exaggerated. So with dubbing live action, you are you have to be very, very subtle with your emotions, and especially with like, variety shows, because for most of those, people are just talking like normal people. So you kind of have to, again, just talk like a normal person while also playing a character in a way, and still sound very natural while having the subtle nuance of this is how they're feeling because they're really stressed out because of this challenge, or they're really excited and happy for that. So it's not like so bombastic like it would be in anime, but it's like, yeah, that's, oh my gosh, that's so cool. It really depends on the context, but a lot of the times it is just, it's very, very grounded and very, very conversational. You're really just like, you know, talking to a person, which you are in most cases, a voiceover. But I would say live action, especially, you're, because especially it's like you can't be like so heightened that it feels weird coming out of like a 3D human on the screen. So
And so, what were your initial impressions for, probably butcher her name as well, Seo Jiwoo from Solo Leveling?
yeah, so do you. So when I first got that audition, I never expected to book anyone like her because she's like just outwardly so strong, and you think she's like this tomboy and really brash, and like, she's a martial artist and she like punches things with her gauntlets. So I did not ever expect to book her. But it was also like a little difficult because her personality is like very meek, and she's scared, and she's like insecure, and she doesn't know what to do, and she doesn't want to step on toes, and she's like, oh my gosh, like I'm so sorry. Which personality wise, I totally fit the bill. And so it was it was interesting because I had to grapple, like, how do I play this character who looks so confident but inside is really not that confident, and how do I mesh that together? So it was really interesting. And I really did not expect to book her, just because, like, again, visually I've never expected to play that kind of character. So yeah. But she's really cool. I like her.
Yeah, she is. I remember when I saw that episode, I was like, "Oh, hello there." She was like checking all my boxes. The only thing she was missing was red hair, and she went for the complete package for me. Yeah. And did your mindset for playing her at all change when you got the voice from the actual anime compared to Arise, since you were working with a different director as well as work on the actual show?
Yeah, no, it was different because I remember walking into my first session for the anime, the director, Caitlin Glass, was like, I know you worked on the game. We are not going to let that performance kind of affect what we're going to do here, because they're two different things. We're going in two different directions. And so for the game, Jiwoo is, very mousy, again, insecure. She does not have any confidence in herself. And she feels like really burdened by being a hunter and having like superhuman strength. And so her voice was like a lot higher and like shakier. And just, you could tell she was really uncomfortable, like being in this situation and like hurting people on accident or doing anything. Um, Whereas in the anime, you see her in that first scene where she punches something, she's smiling, she's really happy, she's really excited to be like on the battlefield. And so we, brought her down register wise. So she's definitely like a little lower, more tomboyish, and more confident in herself. So it's like personality wise, like pretty 180.
And this is something I just got to ask as a big fan of the Funimation cast of guys. Were there any fun and memorable stories you want to share of working with the OG Caitlin Glass?
I mean, Caitlin's so lovely. She's so kind. She's a great director. She knows what she wants. And my sessions with her were really short, just because really didn't have that many lines. The first episode she was in, it was all efforts. So it was like really, really fast. And then the second episode that I worked on, she had, one line and a couple of efforts. And then the last episode of the season, it was again just like 2 lines and, 2 to 3 efforts. So my sessions with Caitlin were really short, but again, she's so lovely and she knows what she wants. And so that's also why they were short because we just went in, did the thing, and then we were done.
Yeah.
But I'd love to work with her again on, something with a character that has a little more substance.
Yeah. And obviously you guys also record separately, but I'm sure for you it was also cool that you got to share the screen with the Go JYB for a scene in the final episode.
Yeah, no, that was really cool. And I remember Caitlin mentioning that it was just really fun, like working with Johnny on that particular scene, because he had already recorded for it. So it's yeah, I never imagined it, and so I'm very thankful.
Yeah. And my final question is, what do you want your legacy to be as a voice actor?
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, I think if I am, putting good art into the world that is, comforting, inspiring, entertaining, that, something I want to be able to put stuff into the world that I think my younger self would be really proud of. Because why I even, got into anime and video games and cartoons and voice acting in general is like as a kid, I was really into this stuff. And she was very inspired by, seeing the Japanese voice actors in anime and, you know, seeing how much fun they were having and how talented they were, and, watching a bajillion cartoons when I was younger, and then playing video games when I got older. So a lot of it is I just want to be doing things that I think my younger self never imagined was possible because I know like she never thought that we would ever become voice actors. And so I want to make sure that, I'm making her proud and making her feel fulfilled and excited for the future of like, oh, this is what is lies ahead for me. And also like other, people who either want to get into voiceover or just feel, the same way that I did when I was consuming this kind of media of just like it brings comfort. It's, a break from, the hardships of real life, whether you're studying or working or, in school, things like that, because a lot of this was really helpful for me when I was, in high school, middle school, and university. And yeah, I've been inspired by so many people who work in the industry, and hopefully this can help inspire other people, and again, just bring comfort because it's important to have things that bring you comfort and make you happy.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks. I'm glad we got to do this.
Yeah, thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you for having me.
Yeah. All right. See you. Good night.
Good night.